broadcasting, transcoding, or developing. I even added a new word in there. So if you are interested in Livepeer, this is the place to be. And if you have any questions, please feel free to join us on stage. Okay, well, let's jump right into some topics and introductions. Obviously, just a quick announcement. Next week, we do have a core developer coming on to talk about a little bit of their role with Livepeer and a couple of interesting things. So there's a Q&A scheduled for next week, and hopefully the week after. I'm still trying to schedule some more developers to come on and do some Q&As. So we got a few more to go through before we probably start recycling some of the Q&A sessions and start from the beginning with someone like Doug or Eric. So we haven't had them on for a while. Either way, we'll go ahead and get started for this week's water cooler chat. Everyone, I'm Titan, been running the Titan node Orchestrator pool since April 2021. And today's topic is about uninterrupted power supplies. That is my topic. And seeing whether people have any recommendations for what brand to use or how much, watts you need for having a backup power supply in case power goes down. And so I've read some reviews, and there's some pretty atrocious stories of power supplies like burning out people's PCs and stuff. And so, yeah, just have some questions around that. And that'll be my topic. We'll move on to Papa Bear. Would you like to introduce yourself on a topic?
Sure. I am Papa Bear. I've been running the solar farm orchestrator since July of last year. And apparently I misread your post about, I'm blanking on his name now, number 0, because I can't remember.
Developer Zero.
I thought he was going to be on, Developer 0. I thought he was going to be on this week, so I had 3 questions ready to go for him. But I will save them for next week. As far as topics for this week, since I thought we would have him, I didn't really get too deep. I did listen to last week's chat, which I wasn't here for, and there were some topics that came up that I was like, oh, I have some answers for that kind of stuff. If we run out of things to talk about and you want to bring up, all right, I can bring up a few things that I've just noticed about, like performance and things like that, just from some minimal testing I've done in the past, but at least it's some data that I can throw into that, and I'll try and remember what some of the other issues were, or not issues, but topics that came up where I was like, oh man, it was weird listening to it, like when I wasn't actually able to talk, because I felt like I wanted just to chat, and I was like, oh, I can't. So I don't have a specific topic for this week, but I will jump in where I can.
Sure. Yeah, it was funny listening to your recording when you took over. I was like, oh, I really want to like talk about this, and I couldn't.
It's weird, right?
I was like, oh man, weird. There's no one to like. I can't jump in, and then I'm like, no, I have
I
a
could
solution.
say something, but no one's gonna hear me.
Yeah, yeah. Exactly. That's too funny. Well, anyway, you were very vague about your topic, even though you did have something. So I'll just put for those who were watching this or weren't here last week. Last week's topic was about LPT whales and how that could affect the performance of the network. So we could Papa Bear. I'll just write that down as your topic, and then we can always.
Well, it actually mine wasn't so much about whales. It was more about when you guys were talking about some of the performance stuff, like how important is it to be able to transcode as fast as possible. I'm kind of paraphrasing here, versus just being able to transcode fast enough. That came up as a something you guys were talking about for a while, and then also just optimizing systems for and this ties into that, but optimizing just systems for speed in transcoding.
Very good. Then that's your topic: transcode fast enough?
Topic, yeah.
And performance.
Yeah,
that's your topic.
Yeah,
because I have those exact same questions.
Okay.
Anyway, thank you so much for joining us, Papa Bear. Great to have you back.
Good to be back.
Ben, would you like to introduce yourself on a topic?
Hey all, Ben, I already know. Been running my nodes since November last year, almost a year now. No topic today, but I can definitely get you a recommendation for a power supply Titan.
Thank you very much. I would really, really appreciate that. Great. Thank you so much for joining us, Ben. Frank, would you like to introduce yourself on a topic?
Hi, I'm Frank. I'm running Ultima Ratio node since early 21, and have no topic tonight.
Very good. Thank you so much for joining us. Alex, would you like to introduce yourself and a topic?
Sure. Yeah, so I'm a TPM at Livepeer. I've been running the steering stone orchestrator for a little under a year. And yeah, my topic, I've been digging into a lot of Cloudflare stuff today. And for a very edge case testing scenario, I'm in this, you're going to laugh when you hear this, but I'm curious if anyone has created a dynamic static IP using Cloudflare workers. So basically a static IP that you can push ingress and egress from, that you can rig a dynamic IP to point to. A very experimental thing I'm doing with Cloudflare Warp. Yeah, that is my topic for today.
Dynamic IP Cloudflare workers is your topic. I don't know. I'm very curious about that topic too, because I have some questions about stuff like on that too. So very good. I'm glad
Cool.
I'm glad you're messing around with that. Okay. Anyone else on the? Thank you so much for joining us, Alex. As always, great to have you. I see we have a couple people down in the audience just listening. Obviously, invited you guys up with the hand to come up and join and speak and introduce yourself. There we go. We got Pon. Pon, would you like to introduce yourself and a topic, please? Pon, I cannot hear you.
He's too busy looking at his, apparently he just wants some tickets. He just private messaged me. He's too busy just trying to figure out how to make fun of me. I think that's what's going on with him.
Oh, there you go. Okay. Well, Pon, either way, great to have you. Great to have you back this
I'm
week.
kidding about that. Oh, he wrote to me technical issues. I'm sure he'll be back.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, cool. All right. Well, let's jump right into this week's water cooler chat. So the first things first, I'm going to start with my topic, because I'm a bit greedy this morning. I'm feeling a little bullish. Can I talk about backup power supplies and experiences that people have had with them? So, Ben, do you want to? Yeah. So I'll explain my situation, and then hopefully we'll be able to help me out. So first of all, I have a router, a modem, and 5 PC servers I need to connect. Now, some of them, like I want to get a backup supply for the 2 routers, the router and the modem for sure, and a NUC where the Livepeer standalone O is calling reward, because those are pretty low power draw. And then I also have an ETH validator node, which I don't actually know how much draw it takes. So I have to I'm considering that one as well. And then the actual transcoding rig, and then an additional server. Like the transcoding, I don't think takes that much power, but I don't know if I want to put it on the backup power supply just in case like power goes down for a long period of time. So that's kind of my situation right now. I'm just trying to find something that like yeah. Ben, do you have experience with this?
Yeah, that was actually something I looked into a while ago, and I ended up buying one that I linked in the water cooler side chat. It was Sundra who helped me out way back when he was active. Basically told me you want a pure sine wave UPS and basically don't go for the consumer grade ones. Try and get something that's a little more beefy. So the one I posted, you can get different rated power supplies, different wattage. The one I have is the one I posted, so it's like 1,000 VA, which is I think 850 watts max. So I can run my machine, which has 2 1070s in it. I've got a router plugged into it. I had another machine as well that was a backup transcoder, and it worked flawlessly. I lost power a couple of times, and it switched over, no problem. The power supply, the battery inside can be hot swapped, and it's pretty simple to use, and it has not blown up my transcoding box. So
see,
there you go.
This is exactly what I was concerned about. So this exact same brand, APC, they also do those home grade consumer ones that are like $200 or $300 or something. And
Yeah, I wouldn't. I can't recommend those.
and I looked at the reviews, and like there were some really bad reviews. Like some of them were like, "Listen, this thing literally blew up my PC. Like it they last for like 50 minutes. They advertise it lasts like an hour and 10 minutes at 100 watts. Everyone was saying they last like 15 minutes, and they fail constantly. There's videos of them failing after like a month, and they were blowing the power supplies on the PCs that were hooked into them. And they were like, basically like, please save your money. Don't buy these because they will blow up your PCs that are hooked into them. And I'm like, my power doesn't go down that often. Like, I think in the last year, our power went out once, and it was because we had a freak snowstorm that like blew down the fucking city. So, it doesn't happen very often.
How long was the power out for? Just because, I mean, you only get a limited amount of time through, I mean, any of these.
That one happened to be...
UPS isn't going to give you that much time.
Yeah, well,
it's really a generator on.
Yeah, and that was the other concern was, it was down for 8 hours, right?
Yeah.
You'd be out of luck at after. I mean, I don't know all the calculations on how much all your equipment's drawing, and but you're not going to get it even close to 8 hours out of that thing.
No, and so the real reason for this is if there's like a blip, right? Like it's down for a minute or something. Like
that's what they're perfect for.
Yeah, which I mean doesn't happen often, but it can happen. Like I don't know, in my area, like I don't remember the power, but the problem is I don't know when it happens because I might not be home, right? Or I might not be where the power goes out, or it might not happen when I notice, right? But like for the most part, like I don't really worry about the power going out. And so then I thought, well, why don't I just set up my machines, like instead of spending $1,500 on a UPS that, or USP or whatever it's called, why wouldn't I just set it up so let's just auto restarts when the power comes on and then just roll with the punches?
I mean, it depends what you want to do. You can do that. You can have it auto boot. But I found that these things are super helpful. And if you do look into the one I posted, which is expensive, but it's one of the few ones that I actually found that has solid reviews where people aren't saying it's been blowing things up.
Yeah, there's no 1-star review.
Yeah. I mean,
I can vouch for the oh, sorry, go ahead, Alex.
No, I mean, like so I've had two of like the prosumer UPS, like APC brand UPSs. And like they're fine. I mean, I had one last 7 years and one last 5 years. The annoying thing is the lead acid battery, and this was in a cold, very dry basement. And I had 3 batteries fail, and then eventually the whole unit failed. Not catastrophically, it just started beeping, and then like one was at my brother's house, and he was like, "Why is this beeping?" And it turned out it was just dead. But I don't know. To me, I use them more so. For like if the power just goes in and out really quickly, because in Texas for whatever reason it's common in the summer from thunderstorms. And the other thing is they're sort of networked. So like I had a Raspberry Pi that would be plugged into the UPS through its like data. So it had like one USB cable. So basically it could say, yeah, there's 5 minutes of power left. And then if that was the case, there was not sure how I set it up. There are a lot of ways you can do this, but basically it would then go through and automatically SSH into anything that was drawing a ton of power and just tell it to gracefully shut off. Which initially, like I for the longest time was like, oh, that's stupid. Like I've held the power button and just unplugged stuff plenty of times until I ruined an SSD with things that I really needed on it. And I've been a little less cavalier since then. But yeah, and now my improvised solution, which I think in total it was like $1,300, is really just like a repurposed like half foray into some off-grid solar stuff that I bought. So I have a Battleborn, I have 2 Battleborn batteries, and then like a Victron inverter, and then sort of the mechanisms that you can use to charge from the grid or solar. which is overkill. But what's cool is they're nice enough that they have like an API I can hook into, so I get the same like automatic shutdown procedure. And the other thing is, if I need more capacity, I can just sell the inverter I have now and buy a bigger one. And obviously, like, there's a bit more headache here because you have to think about what you're buying and that kind of thing. But it's more capacity than I need, and for me, it was the least expensive option because it was just a bunch of stuff that I should have bought that I shouldn't have bought and was just messing around with, that ended up being probably higher quality than what I could have bought. And I also just like there's no reason, in my opinion, in 2022 to be buying like lead acid batteries. But so that's kind of my hack together solution, which
is the lead acid batteries these ones from Amazon here, these APC ones, these are lead acid?
Most of those do. They have some lithium ion ones, but they're even for like 400 VA, they're probably over $1,200.
Yeah, this one is lithium. I'm pretty sure the one that I
okay,
posted.
yeah, this is the lithium ion one, and 1,000 VA is like $1,500, something like that. Right.
It's not cheap.
So, yeah.
Right.
If I was running an ETH validator, I'd probably buy one. I mean, granted, it makes more sense if you have fiber, because basically, as long as you keep a fiber modem powered, and that and that cable isn't severed, it'll basically always work. So I use it more for like
I've been through a lot of the same stuff as Alex. It's crazy. Yeah, go on.
And I can stop at some point, but yeah. Like for me, I just want, like, for the longest mission, it's at my parents' house, so I wanted the network to be up basically as much as possible, and then like the caring if stuff was on or not was secondary. And yeah, and it's kind of insane that like it's so much of a ripoff that it was basically cheaper to buy a bunch of individual, admittedly like very high end, like solar RV components to make this work. And my girlfriend hates the fact that she has to look at this in my living room. But
get a cabinet. I mean, do you have it just sitting out, or do you have it in a cabinet of some sort, or is it just all just
I need to
bunch
cut
of wires?
Right now, it's all mounted to a piece of plywood, so it's very safe. Like, it's fused. It's very safe, and it's leaned up against a wall to my balcony where I have solar panels on the balcony. But yeah, it's very much out in the open. So in theory, I'm going to cut it down and remount it to be in a closet, but not there yet.
Yeah, I mean, I basically have a similar system, just on a larger scale, for the battery part of it. I've got a bunch of, I mean, and this is not what I would recommend for someone who doesn't have solar coming in or have a need for a lot of backup power, but I basically like found someone that was like liquidating a bunch of they're not lithium ion, I'm blanking on the name now, but it's a lithium battery.
Like lithium iron phosphate.
Yeah, and thank you. And I think they were originally sold for golf carts, and they were like so cheap compared to like all the other brands that if you were going to buy like like the Battleborns and those like name brand stuff. And I've just got I forget how many I even have now. It's been so long because everything just happens. Luckily, everything just runs, so it all just runs. And I mean, I mean, if I was just running the computers off it, I could go for days off of what I've got. So I don't worry about power outages. Although if power is really out, and then I'm starting to use the home and stuff like that, powering the home off of all that.
Did you have to hook that up yourself and like fuse it yourself? And
I did do it. I mean, that's, yeah. I mean, like, you can't probably hire a company to come out and do it with the way I did it, because it, like Alex was saying, this is all like RV grade stuff, so it's not technically legal to probably have in a house.
Yeah.
But I also do live in a mobile home, so I figure there's a gray area there, so I mean, I do have to register this with the DMV every year, so I mean, it's permanent. It's not like a trailer, like I couldn't pop a trailer on and take this somewhere. You have to cut it in half and stuff. But so I figure I've got a little bit of a gray area there. But technically, this does need to be like a blueprinted system that's approved by the
so you got to know what you're doing to hook this up.
I mean, it's not rocket science by any means. I mean, if you can hook up a stereo and you can watch a few videos on YouTube, you you could do it, and I would obviously be happy to help anyone walk through it
Yeah.
if they wanted to.
So,
But
Sounds like fun.
it's not doesn't take it does, you don't need to be like an electrician or anything like that. Hooking it into the panel and all that kind of stuff.
are you talking about
you're
solar
not
panels, or are you talking about like hooking into your
talking about
regular?
I'm talking about just the batteries after the solar panels. So I'm like technically like Alex was saying, you could just plug that into, like that could be charged off of just your power coming in. It doesn't have to be from solar panels. It could just be like where it charges off like off your the power grid, and just charges up the batteries, and then
Yeah, because
switches over to them.
that would solar does nothing for me here, like especially in the winter.
Yeah,
months.
no, this is
Oh, yeah.
after the solar. This is like what this is where it gets all the solar energy is getting stored. Or if you didn't use solar, where you could just you would just basically, because people have like Tesla like walls that they don't like, you don't have to have solar for that. You can just charge those off the grid and then have them as backup power. So I basically built like mine has about the same capacity as like a singles Tesla power wall, but it's not, you know, sleek and pretty and all that stuff. It's in a basically like a large metal storage cabinet, you know, that I got from some I don't know, Home Depot or one of those kind of places. I can't remember where.
You know,
and
one important thing, real quick to note is I would definitely strongly recommend against using those like solar generators, which are really like those huge batteries that you can lug around that are somewhat affordable and offer a lot of times greater capacity than UPSs or like purpose-built UPSs, even the ones that use lithium iron phosphate and not some of the more degradable lithium chemistries. Mostly because like if you read reviews, like there are people who've used them for, I guess, what they would call a static power solution, and the inverters aren't really meant to run 24/7, and a lot of times they'll either shut off or just break. And like I knew someone who almost burned their house down doing this with one of those EcoFlow units. So we definitely recommend
yeah,
to not use those.
Yeah, those are not designed to be on
good
100%
advice.
all
Yeah,
the time.
exactly. Yeah. Yeah, the
But
stuff they use is like marine rated and made for like, you know, using on boats and things like that too. So that's because I live near the water, I was like, I want something that's not going to rust out on me.
Okay.
but yeah, well, and then for proper, I mean, like it's the caveat here is that none of it's feeding back into my house. So it's definitely a little bit sketchy in that way. But yeah, because if I wanted to do that, then I'd have to let the power company know, and I need to pay an electrician, and I rent where I live, so I couldn't even do that anyway. And
Yeah, mine does feed. Yeah, I can feed mine to any plug in my house, but it doesn't feed back into the grid. I have to like that's highly illegal, and someone will end up showing up at your place because they'll detect that there's power leaking into the grid because it's not safe if they need to do like work on the lines. But it's a fairly cheap little switch, and it that's what can switch over automatically if you were like running on if you were just like, well, either on, if you just run out of power, that's what does the switch over. It detects it and it switches it over in like less than a millisecond or something. I don't remember the exact times on this stuff, but it just flips over automatically and switches that, and then it detects powers back. It just switches back to the source, whether it's solar or your main line coming in.
So we are streaming this live on YouTube today. So we do have a question from the YouTube chat. Eric Barnert, I think that's how you say it. I'd like to know if any moment would be compatible with QuickSync, Intel QuickSync. This will allow some low power transcoders.
Oh, that's a question from Mike Zuper, I think. Or Papa, were you messing with QuickSync?
I mean, I use QuickSync. I mean, I've played around with QuickSync. Yeah, I mean, like well, especially like back for Livepool, I've run transcoders using Intel's. Actually, I mean, it's using the CPU. I don't actually know when I'm doing Livepool if it's using QuickSync, but through OBS, I've used QuickSync, and it's fast. It's good quality. The only issue that I haven't tested it, but I don't think it can do like nearly the number of streams that an NVIDIA card can do. But I think it can do 3 streams without any problem, and I think it's actually faster than in an NVIDIA card than most NVIDIA cards are. and the quality's great. And yeah, I'm a fan of it. I think it would be cool to have quick sync support built in, but I don't think it's built into Livepeer. I've just
I
used
don't
it
think
through
there's,
OBS.
to my knowledge, not official support. I think the closest you'd be able to get is messing around with, yeah, an important caveat, the FFmpeg build in Go Livepeer is no longer officially supported. So I bet you could build, you could modify the script that builds the FFmpeg installation that Livepeer uses, and just include tags so that you'd use that. And then you might have to fork Go Livepeer and then make sure that it's including flags to explicitly use QuickSync. Because that, like, low key, that, like, changing those things is why the netint encoders work. That's the path that they use, to my knowledge. So yeah, I would attempt that. It would be an interesting fork.
The answer is it's not real. It wouldn't be it's not simple if you don't have some knowledge on how to compile your own code.
There'd be some digging for sure.
Yeah,
So,
but it's not out of the box.
So I'm assuming though by his question it was to allow low power transcoders. Does QuickSync use less energy or power than NVIDIA cards?
I'm gonna
not sure.
I don't know, but I mean I've had 3 like OBSs running using QuickSync, and that's on a laptop, which is using relatively low power, and it doesn't hit the CPU. So I don't really have a way to monitor what the
Yeah, I
draws
mean,
are. I've never really looked, but
Livepeer uses
Livepeer
pretty low
itself doesn't
power at
use a
the
whole
moment
lot.
anyway. Yeah,
That's a
and
good point.
we do have the netting cards, which don't use
Those take
use
it to the next
very
level.
little power as well. Apparently,
Yeah.
I know.
I will say though that like NVIDIA, like I bought a watt plug that detects the watts that are actually being pulled from the machine, and I did I built a machine, my first Titan node miner, if you will, with a 3050 in it, and with Ubuntu server it was idling at 32 watts, and at max transcode capacity, doing 18 streams, it bumped up to 80 watts. So like,
Oh wow.
Yeah, I mean that's awesome. Yeah,
Nothing.
like that's
yeah. So like when I saw it was drawing 80 watts at absolute max capacity, I was like, okay, well, like it's like $17 a year or something, like, or maybe not. Yeah, it was 32 watts idle and 80 watts max, and I was like, okay, well, my 650 watt power supply that I put in there is clearly overkill. Like, you know, even though it's the cheapest one on the market, that's why I went with it. But yeah, like I don't, the power consumption of NVIDIA cards is already really low if you're just using the encoding decoding.
it is obviously that's going to vary on the generation, but the 30 series cards are fairly, especially when you're just doing transcoding on them, they're quite a bit more efficient than the older 10 series. I don't know about the 20s. I've never really tested those and don't have the numbers in front of me, but yeah, the 30 series cards are really efficient.
Yeah. So he's asking more. Are we good with just answering some of these questions here?
Sure.
Is because it's integrated on CPUs, on NUCs or mini PCs. I don't know. So you can run a transcoder with really low power on a small UPS with modem, like a standalone.
Oh, I see. He was following up with your topic, I guess.
Yeah, that could work. I mean, I think there were some difficulties with getting M1 transcoding to work as initially as well. And like if you follow OBS issues, initially OBS had a bunch of problems actually pushing content that was encoded on an M1 like H.264 accelerator, like the dedicated coprocessor, because there were quirks with the bit rate and then a few things that in transit would cause weird issues. So ideally you wouldn't run into those, but I know at Livepeer there were I saw threads where people were running into that as well, and I assume that since QuickSync's been around much longer, you probably wouldn't hit those issues. But yeah, a NUC would be cool to transcode on for sure.
Yeah, the biggest issue would be to get like official support from Livepeer, and I think that because of the limited capacity of a CPU, what it can do even with QuickSync, compared to a relatively inexpensive NVIDIA card, you're probably just not going to get the Livepeer team to look like prioritize that. That's my guess, and I'm again just guessing because I'm not part of the Livepeer team, but it would be great because they are they do put out good quality, and they're actually, like I said, I think they're actually a little faster than a lot of the NVIDIA cards, but it's limited capacity, and since most of us are looking for more than 3 streams, it's probably going to be a tough sell to put the manpower into putting official support in for that, at least right now, from my guess from being the outsider. It's great technology. And you know what? I'm also like, I don't know. I'd be curious to know how the new NVIDIA graphics cards do, because I think they can actually work with QuickSync to speed things up with QuickSync on the CPU.
Talking about the 40 series cards?
No, sorry, did I say I meant the Intel cards? If I said NVIDIA,
Intel.
Oh yeah, I'd love to
those
know.
new Intel
Apparently,
cards.
the encoding and decoding on those are pretty great, but I haven't seen any
I haven't
testing
seen.
for it.
Yeah, I haven't seen any benchmarks as far as, but the thing is too, when you have like, it takes someone from Livepeer to really do the benchmarking, because very few people are trying to transcode, is maximum amount of streams. They're just trying to do like one stream at a time, and we need the scalability. So until one of us gets one and it forks something over to be able to test it, it's going to be tough to actually know how well they perform.
Yeah, I mean that'd be awesome to test. I've been watching every review I can find of the Intel cards, and unfortunately, it's just gamers reviewing them at the moment, and they're all just upset about the drivers.
Yeah, no, I've seen one guy talk about the video encoding and stuff on it, and it was doing really well. But the problem was he was just doing one stream, comparing it,
Right.
like exporting from Premiere and different editing software and stuff like that, and the performance and the quality were excellent. But again, for us, we're the ones that we want 20 streams per card, so. It's again, unless we get someone like Elite to fork something for us, or it's going to be a while, I think, before anyone here gets their hands on that or tests
it. Sorry, my English. I'm the one with the problem with the South Paulo node, the timeout problem. Oh, hey, Eric, thank you so much for joining us. Eric is a Titan node pool transcoder, so great to have you. The timeout problem, yes, I believe we'll have to keep looking into that. I see this form on power loss, so you don't lose all transcoders in the future when more jobs to process. Yeah, well, this is the question I had originally, was this UPS issue, which is like how to keep things uptime. And I just want to quickly wrap back around to my question then. So what you're saying is the cheap at-home consumer-grade power supplies are probably not worth getting. And don't expect to get 8 hours out of any power supply. They're really only good for like small intermittent losses.
Yeah,
and I can also vouch for those crappy reviews. I mean, I know mileage will vary, and I have had some in the past that have been okay, the APC ones, like the consumer grade ones. But the last one I bought, which was years ago, it was terrible, and I mean, it had this smell that was coming out of it that was just like, I mean, I couldn't even believe the smell that was coming out of it. I eventually just got rid of it.
Well, that was, yeah. Okay, here's a quick one. What about just the modem and the router? I linked in the water cooler side chat a link to just like a modem, like a router style UPS. Because I don't think routers and modems take much power. Would something like this make sense, or is this still like a no-no?
I am just taking a look now to see what we're talking about here.
It's like this little white box.
Yeah, I'm seeing it. It's 12 volts. So I guess if your modem and router are on 12 volt, that would be an important first step to make sure if they plug into the wall, then you're without like a transformer, then then this wouldn't work for you. But if it's got a transformer, then you'll probably be okay. And again, I can't vouch for the quality of this particular product. I'm always usually what they're rated for, as far as 1500 mega amps, or I take that with a grain of salt on most things, especially things that are advertised on Amazon. But for $50, it might be worth a shot just to try it and see how it works.
Because that's DC power. Like, it's like a little 12-volt battery pack. Like, that should be a lot less intense for like failures and stuff, right? Like, there's it should
yeah. I mean, I think as long as you're pretty sure that the hardware that's charging the batteries has either like pass-through capability, so that when it knows there's not power coming in from the wall, that it's aware of when that's on or off. So if there is power, it's just drawing from the wall, and when it's not, it's drawing from the batteries. And then because like what you want to avoid is this just being like a large USB battery pack that happens to have a 12-volt output, where like you're draining a bunch of 18650s endlessly. Because people do that with Raspberry Pis, and it works pretty well because they just never draw very much power. But you can still run into like a not great situation where you've cycled cheap 18650s thousands of times and then have those sitting in a closet in your house somewhere.
Right. I mean, this is like, they say it's specifically for routers, so like you would think that like they would have thought about this.
Yeah, I think most routers do use like a 12-volt adapter. Like they've got the the wall wart or the brick.
Yeah, because it's only 12-volt, 1.5 amp, right? Like it's like a 1 amp, 12-volt. Like it's just tiny. So this little device hopefully would keep the router on, right? And then as for the machines, I was like, okay, do I really need to power a Livepeer transcoder? Like probably not. Like I can let a transcoder go down for a bit. Like it's not a big deal, right? But then I thought about my ETH validator, and what you were saying, Alex, is like, could that corrupt an SSD card, and then my ETH validator node is down until I find a new, until I resync a validator, which would be terrible with a new SSD or something, right? Like, is it possible for an ETH validator node that's constantly writing blocks to the SSD to just get corrupt with it just automatically shutting off?
Yeah, especially with the more consumer drive. It's not that common, but it's way more common than you'd think. Because writes is where you'd screw up, because if the write cache is still waiting to write things to the flash, then that could end badly. But yeah, just the trade-off there.
The thing to bear in mind about a UPS is it does more than just give you battery. It conditions the line as well. So it protects you from things like variable voltage, surges on the line, lightning strikes, all sorts of things. I run two. I've got a 1500 that I run with my router and switch, and I get about 30 minutes battery time out of that. And then I run a 3000 and I run a couple of HP servers, and I probably get 15 minutes with that, with the 2 HP servers. But it keeps the voltage and the current at the correct level, so you're not wearing out your power supply. With the power supply is not having to deal with all the variable voltage going up and down and the current changes and lightning strikes and stuff. The UPS deals with all of that and protects your equipment.
Yeah, so you could use it with a generator, and if that's dirty power, it could still go to your machine without damaging it.
Oh, that dirty power.
Dirty power.
You use hydroelectric where I am, so it's all hydro.
Oh, there you go.
But it's all
Fancy.
it's all monitored by the company.
Yeah, and it's just like how clean is the signal, not how what is it doing to the environment is not the issue. Yeah.
So what you're saying is stay away from cheap home ones, because they might just be more of a headache than a help. You're better off going with this lithium ion one that's nice and highly recommended, this APC Smart. one that, or do some sort of setup like Papa Bear and Alex are doing, where you're Jimmy rigging up your own car batteries and putting on
I
solar
mean, I
panels.
wouldn't recommend that for the average person, although it works great. But I mean, if you don't know what you're doing and you don't like, have the space for something like that, I mean, I mean, they're fairly large. I mean, at least the one I built, and I mean, even I'm sure Alex is, like you said, it's unsightly for people that come in and if you don't, put it in some sort of cabinet or something like that. But you definitely get the most power out of those.
Because wouldn't you say, like, wouldn't the other solution just to be let your stuff turn off when the stuff turns off, and then as soon as the power comes back on, you just set your machines to auto boot on power, and then set up all your programs as a service, and let the power go out, and when the power comes back on, it'll just reboot and start going again.
Yeah, I mean,
depends how important having the uptime is for you. And
yeah,
again,
and you at least want a surge protector or something so that the shutdown isn't catastrophic to your hardware.
Sure, but a surge protector is built into most power bars, right? Like, you can just go buy them, right?
Yeah, but somebody mentioned earlier about corruption on your hard drive. If you pull the power out of a PC, it could be writing to the disk. And if it's writing to the disk at the moment you lose power, then you could corrupt the hard drive. So even if the power comes back, even if you set your BIOS to automatically turn back on, you could end up with a corrupt drive.
Right.
Exactly.
And
That's the other
data on that one. Not having proper power for a home media servers running Plex on a Raspberry Pi, just local, just no transcoding and stuff. But yeah, it wrecked my wrecked an external. I was not too fond of that one. So yeah, definitely need to make sure you have good power going in.
Yeah, that's a nightmare.
Even if you go for a low capacity UPS like a 750 or a 500, you might only get 5 minutes out of it, but you can get some of them, like the APCs, come with free software, and you can use those to shut your machine down cleanly, so that even if you don't get a lot of battery time out of it, you get the advantage of both worlds. You get a few minutes of battery to cover you for a blip, and it conditions the line. But if you do have an outage, then the software, you can set it to say 2 minutes. And then when it reaches that 2 minute barrier, it tells you, connects via a UPS, USB port, for instance. And then you run an agent on your PC, and it tells your PC to shut down when it gets low on battery. And then you get a clean shutdown as well. And then you can tell it to come back.
Right, because at least if not for continuously running, like sometimes you get a power outage for like 10 seconds or something, right? And you're like, what was that? Your microwave turns off and you turn it back on. You're like, oh, okay, well, like, it hasn't happened to me frequently, but like it can. And it would be quite a shame if I had an ETH validator node just get absolutely corrupted in 3 seconds because, I didn't take provisions, right? And this is something that I want to have extremely high uptime and longevity, right? You want to be able to run this for like years without any interruption.
Yeah, I think it's worth it to pay the money to get a good solid power UPS for especially for that.
I don't know if any of you follow people like Red Panda Mining on YouTube, but he had an issue. He had some of the Octaminer cases, and they had the 60 gig SSDs, and he had a brief power outage, and I think he lost 2 or 3 of them. It corrupted the drives, and he had to reinstall HiVos and rebuild his configuration. He lost 3 of his machines just for a few minutes of power outage.
Yeah, so you have the I didn't see that particular. I mean, I've watched Red Panda, but I don't watch them regularly. Did the hard drives actually were they ruined, or did they just corrupt the data? Because I was like, then you also they were ruined.
It basically fried the drives. He had to replace the drives.
So then you have
new
to.
ones.
Yes. So that's another cost. Then you have to factor in, that you're saving on replacing hardware and the time it takes to rebuild it, your downtime, and all that other stuff that all factors in. And
it could have taken out the power supplies as well. But those Octaminer ones come with professional HP style power supplies, so they would probably have coped with the power outage, whereas a consumer level one might not cope. So you might not only lose the hard drive, you might lose the power supply, and then the power supply could then take out the motherboard, and there's, you know, it's worst case scenario, but you could lose your entire PC because it could blow everything.
Yeah, I wouldn't, if you're doing UPS, which I do recommend having that for the line conditioning alone, I wouldn't skimp on it. I think it's worth paying the extra money and getting something that's good quality.
Cool.
Yeah, I mean that's a big point of failure to have. If you get a cheap one, you lose everything when it goes down.
There you go.
The thing to bear in mind is that you're not going to get much more than maybe an hour to 90 minutes out of even the biggest UPS. The one I've got, if all I was running on it was the router and the switch, I might get 90 minutes to 2 hours out of it. But if you want any capacity beyond that, then you're going to need some kind of generator or solar to kick in. But the majority of time, it's just for the short-term outages, power blips and the like.
Right. So it's not about actual. It's not about actual like. You know, keeping it up for long periods of down. It's just those intermittent things where, you know, you need to really protect your equipment by doing these kind of things.
Basically, yeah. I mean, I agree with that, I guess is the right way to say it.
Well, there you go. Great. Okay. I think that answers my question. That was my topic. So
triple your budget and grab yourself a good UPS.
Yeah, which is good because, yeah. Okay, cool. I'm glad to hear. Let's do some introductions. I see there's some new people that have joined us. We'll go through some more we'll finish off introductions. Adrian, would you like to introduce yourself on the topic?
Hi, I've been running my Orchestrator since April last year. Wow, been here a while. Been busy the last few months, so I've not been around much. And with the calls being earlier, I couldn't make it much because it was during my office hours. But are you planning on having these calls at this time going forward, or are you moving them around?
I think this is the new time. I think we'll just stick with this. Was the original time, and I don't know if I just got lucky, but I think the original time was the best time. So I think we'll just stick with this.
Yeah, this one works best for me. So if they're staying here, that's great news. I don't have a topic, to be honest. I'm just listening at the moment, just trying to catch up. I've not been reading a lot of the Discord either, so I've got a lot of catching up to do on that. I'm just setting up I'm rebuilding my Orchestrator, and I'm trying to follow Mike's Portainer traffic documentation. So I'm just having some fun with that at the moment.
Cool. Very good. Glad to see you, and glad to have you back. Awesome to see you. Mike Z, would you like to introduce yourself on a topic? Oh, I think he's oh no, he's here. Oh, Mike's
He's gone.
Oh, he gone. Oh, he'll be back. Let's see. We'll give him a second here.
He's back already.
He's back. No. We'll wait for him to figure that out. How do you say this name? Fuego Blanco. Would you like to introduce yourself, and if you have any topics or questions?
Yes, of course, my friend. It's Fuego Blanco. It's totally fine. I love it. People, great. I love it. Anyways, yeah, I came across Livepeer a little while ago, and extremely interested because I'm a big fan of streaming media and all that stuff, and the way we consume and just interact with media in general. And the fact that it's decentralized and it's peer-to-peer is great, because my roots, I'm not gonna lie, I was a pirate growing up. So yeah. Anyways, yeah, I would love to run a node, but I have an unfortunate living situation. I live in Mexico. I live in southern Mexico, and the power goes out quite frequently when it rains. Yeah, but I'm going back to the States in a few days, and I might set up one at my parents' house. Who knows? You never know. But yeah, I plan on using Livepeer, the network for one of the companies I work for, as a solution to their streaming needs. So yeah, I've been hanging around the Discord here and there, and yeah, that's what I do. I'm a developer and like to have fun.
Very good. Oh, thank you so much for joining us. I don't think we've met, so it's great to have you join this call, and yeah, welcome to the community. As for running a node, yeah, Mexico is interesting. I have people in my pool that are transcoding out of Mexico City. They're right on. Are you south of that?
Oh, I'm next to Guatemala, my friend. It is it's pretty wild down here.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, I'm sure as things, I mean, that's the whole thing about Livepeer. We're supposed to, it's supposed to create a robust, decentralized global network. So, there's nothing wrong with running a node down there. And then if you run your own orchestrator node, then anyone who wants to spin up their own broadcaster node in that area, they're going to connect to you first because you're going to be in that area. So, but just currently right now, the largest broadcaster is Livepeer Inc., and their closest node to you is probably going to be Los Angeles. So,
yeah. I do have a question though. What would be what's the minimum requirements for running a node? Because if I was to deploy one at my parents' house, I'd probably set it up once. And then, what's the upkeep like? Is it really hands-on, or can I do it remote, or just give me the ins and out of it?
It can be pretty hands-off, especially now with Arbitrum Nitro. We went through a pretty rough period where our RPCs were going down quite frequently, and it was a struggle. But that seems to be a problem that has been solved, thankfully. So, I mean, right now, I think you could probably set up a node, give yourself remote access, and not have to touch it too much.
Yeah, it's pretty minimal. It's as long as you have good internet, you're good to go, and location is key too. Like I set up a transcoded rig for. I tried to do a really budget one, like the cheapest. I've been messing around with tight node miners, this concept around it. I actually think I'm gonna scrap the whole idea. I don't know if it's actually possible to sell these things. People's internet is way too big of a factor, and it just doesn't seem like I could sell them something and then have them not connect to my pool because of their internet. So,
can you partner with an ISP and sell them a package with the miner fiber?
Yeah, but the problem is you could just sell them any generic gaming PC that has any card in it, and it's going to do
guys?
Just as good.
Yeah,
we can hear you.
Did you guys hear? All right, good. Thank you. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, that's all good. So,
no worries.
Anyway, I've been messing around with just this whole tight node miner idea. Probably not going to work, especially because I'll probably just refer people to computers they can just buy and then run the software. But anyway, to my point here, I built a really cheap one. I used a Chinese all-in-one CPU and motherboard for $140. Bought the cheapest power supply you can get. Anyway, I set this whole thing up for, I think, $300, including the GPU. Maybe $400. And it could run a transcoder node. It could do it.
Yeah, you can get set up for super cheap. But if you get sucked down the rabbit hole and you start really caring about performance, you can go as expensive as you want, and you can see the performance gains when you're looking at the metrics.
Don't forget, there's a 100 LPT stake requirement to actually join the orchestrator pool. So whatever your hardware costs, and then you'll also need to stake money towards your orchestrator account. So
yeah, that's really jumped up lately. I think it wasn't like a month or two, that it was only 50, 60 LPT to join. It's doubled.
Well, that's not, I mean, it's steep, I guess, to start it up. But I think I'm gonna try it out, because when I get back to America, my friend is re-gifting me a $500 mini PC that I got for him.
There you go.
He's like, hey man, I don't know what to do with it, and I was like, bro, come on, man, it's a mini PC, just throw it around. You're a web developer, use your local environment. It's too hard to bundle.
Stop trying to convince him to keep it.
I know, yo, bro, come on, let it up. But
does it have an NVIDIA GPU in it?
I believe it does.
Okay, because that's a requirement. I mean,
1070, 1080 preferred, right?
I believe so.
I mean, those do work the best.
His reasoning for not wanting it is because it's Linux, and I tell him, my friend, I have my 60-year-old mother using Ubuntu. Like, chill.
Okay.
I onboarded my parents to Ubuntu maybe years ago, and they love
Wow.
it. They go, oh, Linux sounds so hard. And I'm like, no, it's Mom, Dad, like, let me set it up for you. Like, obviously, I don't touch the terminal or anything, but once you get it running, I don't do email. They do email and Chrome, that's it, or Chromium.
Yep.
Very cool.
So Fuego Blanco, that's a white fire. I love it.
That's correct. I'm the most white fire guy in
You probably read.
I'm almost 6 foot, and my fiance's 4 or 5'2", and yeah, I'm white as hell, man.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Mike C, would you like to introduce yourself on the topic?
Hey guys, Mike Zuper. I run the Zodap org. No topics today, just kind of share some of my experience as a broadcaster in the last 7 days if folks are interested.
I'm always interested.
Absolutely.
Very cool. Okay, cool. Okay, well, we've done introductions. Great to have everyone. And interesting to hear that the Livepeer network is now at 100 LPT to get in. So back when I started, it was 0 actually. We only had 98 transcoders on mainnet on Ethereum, and then it started bumping up to 0.1, then 0.5, and then we hit 1, and I was like, whoa, you actually need 1 Livepeer to get on this network.
The other thing just to keep in mind for Fuego is that there is the minimum to start your node, but it's only 100 active orchestrators. So if someone else comes along and if you're at the bottom, like right now it looks like it's 104 is the minimum. If you're at 105 and someone comes along and goes 106, you get bumped out. So I would generally recommend going higher than the bare minimum because there's a good chance you'll get bumped out really quickly from that. So just something to keep in mind if you're not aware of that.
And real quick, and so I would have to get re into the node. I guess I would repay or rebuy in.
Yeah, you can bond more to yourself, or
just
you can
add more. You're not paying; it's actually your money. You keep it. You just gotta add more to your account so that you're higher than the lowest.
Yeah, you're not paying anyone for it. It's just you just need to have that up as well, I guess it's really almost like a good faith. Yeah,
it's like an escrow almost. It's just money sitting there on the side. So you gotta just stake it up, put that money towards your org, and then whenever you quit, you could just take it back.
I like the sound of that. So you guys are selling me on this whole thing. First off, you guys come out with a cool network and some cool media stuff, and now you got me over here launching a node.
He's starting to believe. He's starting to believe.
And I will add, it's a really good community as far as like if you need any help getting things going. Although it sounds like you're pretty technical, I'm still sure you'll run into a thing or two. The community is really helpful and getting.
Yeah, check out the Livepeer forums. We've posted tons of content on getting started, lots of videos and walkthroughs. You'll find Authority Null and Zodap and Mike Zuper all over that stuff.
Awesome, because I've been searching for a community that's a Web3 community that's actually doing something. So I'm glad I found you guys.
Oh yeah, we're busy in here, man. A lot of guys cranking out ideas.
Definitely.
Yep.
Cool. Okay, let's continue on with some topics. Alex, you brought up. Oh, did Alex leave?
He's gone.
I wanted to ask him about his dynamic static IP Cloudflare worker thing.
Oh, especially with Mike here, that would have been.
I know.
Yeah, what is that?
I know.
I wasn't really sure. I didn't want to ask him during the topic, but I was.
He had a very niche question. Yeah, I don't know. That would have been a good one for you, Mike.
Titan, you keep good notes. What was his? What did he say? The reason? What did he say?
Just got to your topic. I said we did.
You pinging him?
Yeah, he's just in water cooler chat. He says I have to drop
for
a meeting. Technical project.
Oh.
He said he's trying to create a dynamic static IP using Cloudflare Warp. I don't even know what that is.
Warp?
Yeah, I know what Warp is. It's part of the Cloudflare tunnels. There's a Warp protocol.
a dynamic DNS, but with a raw static IP the dynamic IP points to instead of a domain name. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, but IPs don't point to things. That's the problem, right? Like DNS points to IPs. IPs are just what they are. You know what I mean? So like he would have to use DNS in some way. It couldn't just be static IP
There's no
unless
way
he's,
to do that.
well, I'd have to talk to him more and
I
see
don't.
what
Yeah,
actually he's trying. Let
'cause I
me,
don't know what
I
his
don't
use
want to say
case
any, a
is.
lot of things are possible.
Right.
Okay. Well, we'll have to skip that topic because we have no clarity on what he was going over.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we don't have many topics left, so we'll just get through the ones. But let's go with transcoding fast enough? ? And performance by Papa Bear. I think this is a continuation from last week's topic. Papa, what were your thoughts? You had some thoughts around this. Do you want to explain what you were thinking?
Well, you know, I was listening to the chat from last week, and I if I remember correctly, you guys were talking about how fast is fast enough, and like, you know, do you really gain? I think it was kind of like, are you gaining anything by transcoding like faster than what you need to, and how fast do you need to transcode? And I mean, basically, as long as you're transcoding in real time and getting it back to the broadcaster in real time, once you've got the stream, I mean, the way I understand it is you're good to go. It doesn't matter if you're sending it back in half the time or a quarter of the time, as long as it's getting back within, you know, I guess it has to be slightly faster than real time. There's really no advantage in it, and it's not like it hurts the network because you can't send back video. I mean, it does no good. I mean, there's no advantage to getting the video back faster than the next piece is coming into you. So I don't remember the reason that came up as a topic, but it seems like there was a bit of confusion over that. And,
so here
maybe
is my.
I think there was some confusion around whether or not the transcoding time would impact your discovery, or whether you would continue to get segments, right?
I
Is
guess
that what it was?
my question is around quality. Like my question, like, I mean, selection algorithm aside, and okay, so turns out I don't know why, but I had a transcoder that was transcoding less than real time. Like double real time, like it was really bad. And they kept the stream. And
Yep.
So that's really bizarre.
So,
like, that
no, I saw that. Remember Papa Bear last week when you guys helped me? I was like, I was in the toilet last week because, you know, I had made some changes in my infrastructure and I broke something and my scores like went to hell and I couldn't figure out what I did wrong. And what I did was I took the NVIDIA flag off of my transcoder by accident. And so like it was all just like CPU encoding, but it was running, it was taking streams less than I would normally get. And I saw my scores were horrible. And I was just sitting there like, what in the hell did I do? Like, how do I fix this? Like, I had no idea. And it was something so stupid. But again, to your point, you know, Titan is, you know, if you're in there, your ping's high enough, your latency is fast enough to get selected. Math.random will choose you. And when he does, you get the stream.
But
you'll get the stream, but you don't hold on to the stream though, right? Doesn't it go away quickly?
No, it will. It depends on how fast you can return. Like there is a, you know, like if they send you, you know, two segment or a segment, right? 2 seconds, you know, you can't take 10 seconds to return. It will time out on you for those. And if you do time out, you will get, basically you won't get the next segment.
No. Okay, hey. What happens if you return a 2 second segment and 2 seconds and 2.5 seconds?
There's some window, but there's some window. I don't know exactly how long it is. I have to go back to the code and look, but there is a window in there that it'll say, you know, send it out and then wait for a certain period of time and then come back. Yeah. And it's not much more than the segment itself, though.
Okay, so
now, just want to make sure before anyone goes on, are we talking? We're not combining selection process versus like once you have the work, right? Because that's almost sounded like that was happening last in the conversation that I heard last week, that there was some overlap there, and it didn't seem like that it was separated out, and I just want like that was kind of one of my things. I'm like, there's two separate things going on. There's a selection,
Well,
you know, process.
The selection
and there's once you
process
actually have the work. Yeah.
Yeah. So okay, so there's two things going on here. One is the selection algorithm, which is who gets the stream when it first starts.
Ping.
Well, no,
Or ping.
But previous, unless they've changed it, but from my understanding, previous transcode's time does matter in some situations on the initial discovery phase. Now, I don't know if they've gotten rid of that, but it used to be based on ping, and then it used to be based on what everyone's last real-time score was. As long as there was a transcoder in real time, it automatically selected that. But if there was no transcoder that was within real time, then it chose the person who did it the fastest, or something like that. So anyway, but that aside, though, let's not worry about the selection algorithm. What my question is about sticky streams. So I had a transcoder join the pool, and they were transcoding at like a 2-second segment was coming back in 3.5, 4 seconds. Okay, and it was holding the stream, but this logically didn't make any sense. Like, I didn't understand how this could even be possible.
It shouldn't be, you'd think, right?
I don't think it should be. No, I don't think it's supposed to be.
So I'm sure it timed out at some point, or maybe, but the minute it went over 2 seconds, returned after 2 seconds, it did not give up and change. Okay. It, in fact, at 3 seconds and 3.5 seconds, it held on to it for an ungodly amount of time. Like, I was just really confused. I was like, wait a minute. Why would it keep a stream that is just not sending stuff back? And how could the transcoder not get overloaded if it's getting more and more things it's transcoding to the point where it would eventually run out of memory?
Well, when was this? Because Livepeer was running a lot of tests over the last few weeks. Maybe it was a
test.
Maybe it was a test, and those aren't real streams, or
no. This is a transcoder in my pool that clearly has bad scores, and
right. But Livepeer was running a bunch of tests. They had streams going out that lasted hours.
So what you're saying is it wasn't acting appropriately because it was...
Maybe, I don't know. But
we're guessing here. I mean, that's just
yeah.
I mean, I don't think either Ben or I know, but we both kind of we both came up with that at the same time, and I could just tell, like, we're both thinking the same thing, that there were a lot of testing, and maybe there was some kind of like thing where it was trying to measure stuff, so it was letting things go through that because it was a test. Again, just total, like, just guessing.
Yeah, it's guess. Yeah.
I only came across it because the stream was clearly long enough that it caught my attention, because I feel like a 2-second.
How long was it?
How long was
it? Roughly, I mean, like, there's a stream. Like, was it like, did it go for like several minutes? I mean, an hour? Or...
Probably like a minute extra, 2 minutes. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't really remember, because it was a lot of log files, and I was just like looking at it.
I
going,
was just
what the hell?
Curious.
I don't think it was a long stream. Like, I don't think. But I was just baffled, because I was like, wait a minute. I've been optimizing so that if you're above real time, I'm going to kick you from the pool, because like, but then I'm like, wait, why are people getting transcode? But then I thought, like, okay, at what point? So this is my question, was about performance. Like, what is the minimum performance before you're like, a broadcaster's going to go, no, like, I'm not okay with this, because A, the quality sucks, or B, the algorithms changes for me, right?
I don't think quality is in the it plays a role in it. I mean, I don't think it knows what the quality is right now. I mean, I know that there are, I know at one point they were working on and doing blanking on what they were calling it. One of the verification processes was where it would check the quality, but I don't think that that's really implemented.
Fast verification.
Yeah, fast verification.
Right.
Thanks, Mike.
So, okay.
But yeah, go ahead, Mike. Or sorry, go ahead, Titan.
No, go ahead.
But it at least, I mean, in my understanding, and also logically, it should not be keeping streams running. And that are going over real time. Now, again, I'm assuming that those segments weren't. I mean, the duration of those segments were they over 2 seconds? Like were they 4 second or 5 second chunks? Because that, I mean, those do come in
2 seconds in, 3.5 seconds out. Like it was like what? Like there were four there were
okay. So you saw the segments, duration.
Yeah. It's in my logs. Like I have V6 enabled all the time.
Yeah, no, then I was just trying to think of things that could explain it, because it would make no sense that it would allow, I mean, streams to come in slower than real time, especially when you're trying to broadcast a live stream. I mean, it just obviously the user experience is going to suck.
So on top of that, like, okay, so we know, like, obviously sending back a stream, anything over real time is just no good for anyone. Like, that's just like, of course. Like, so my question then is, like, right now I have a test stream from Singapore, right? And the results are in the 2 second segment. It was returned to the broadcaster in 1.8 seconds, right? So that's like right on the cusp. You're only at 200 milliseconds away from, like, you know, it not being real time. Is that acceptable, or is that not acceptable? Like, where is the point at which, like, this is you know, what is the least performant you can get without any loss in quality amongst the best performers?
Yeah, that's a good question to know exactly where the cutoff is. I mean, I was always just under the impression that it was as long as it was real time coming back, but there, you know, once there's some, like, it's kind of cached for a few seconds before it starts to actually stream out. You know, if it's 2 seconds and then that's all built into it, it should continue to go if you're talking 2 second segments, as long as you're coming in like at that 2 seconds or under. But I still think that's cutting it close. You know, you're certainly, if you're running at that, you're going to have some that are going to be a little longer and some are going to be a little shorter. So I wouldn't shoot for that by any means, but I believe the protocol is supposed to work where if it's real time or faster, you're good, and anything over that, it should drop you. But obviously, we've found there's some problem or loopholes in there.
Yeah, and so I guess because I have so okay, interesting. Because, like, maybe my pool is a little too strict then, because I'm requiring people to bring things back twice as fast as real time, but maybe I can bring it back to, like, just under real time, right? And that would be sufficient for the network, which would allow me to have, you know, more people in the pool and things like that.
Yeah, I guess
Just
we'd probably need someone from the core team to, like, actually confirm that, or someone to go through the code and take a look and see what it's supposed to happen. Because I really don't know how that one, if you were getting 2 second segments going back at 3.5, I mean, that should definitely have been dropping that.
Definitely. Okay. There we go.
Can't explain it. Yeah, can't explain it.
Well, okay. Well, maybe I'm going to reduce the requirements down to, like, 1 point. So, like a real-time ratio of 2, I'll probably just reduce it to 1.5. And then that just...
see what happens.
Right? Because then if people can serve things back 0.5, you know, about 500 milliseconds before, you know, a 2 second stream back in 1.5 seconds, they should have enough buffer time too to manage some latency, 100 or 200 milliseconds, give or take.
Yeah, I think you'd be fine with that, personally.
Yeah. Okay. Very good. Okay, that was me beating on the last topic from last week.
Speaking of last week, one of the things that I heard, I don't remember exact context, was that I guess people were, like, saying that a lot of the streams a lot of streams were like would come and go and things like that, and you didn't know if it was, like, was it something that on the you know, transcoder side, or was it like did the broadcaster just shut down, or what, what was going on with that. Something that, if you really want to dig through your logs, is to look and see, because again, they were doing a lot of Livepeer, like they're not the, they're not the performance board tests, but these EDE tests, which I guess I don't know exactly what they're testing for there, but I do know that they're the ones that come in that are like 59 segments, 91 segments, and 147 segments. So if you see that you're getting a lot of streams that are ending it on those, like after that many segments, it's not you. That's just how long the stream was. So that's one way to look at it. I mean, it's not the simplest way, but it's just, if you, for peace of mind, if you just want to take a look and say, hey, why did that stream end? And you look back and say, oh yeah, it was one of those 147s, because I definitely saw a lot of those happening. So I know it wasn't, an issue with my something on my end. I just know that, okay, that's how long those streams are.
Wait, how can you tell? Sorry, repeat that a little bit.
There are some tests that are sent out by Livepeer that are 59 segments, 91 segments, and 147 segments. And if you see a lot of streams that are ending on those particular numbers, like after 59 or 91 or 147, you know that it wasn't something on your end that caused that stream to die out. That was the length of the stream.
Oh, really? 59, 91, and 147.
Yeah, I'd have to double check the 59 one, but I think that's what it was. I know the 91 and 147 are for sure.
Is that the sequence number, like the?
Yeah, like is it just like like when you see like like when it shows
temp file, like temp file 91.
Yeah, exactly. So it'll end on those numbers, and if you see that, then you know that was the full length of the stream. You may not have started on that because it could have come from someone else who wasn't able to process it, but if they end on those, you know that you weren't the one that it wasn't you that wasn't keeping up. That was just the stream has come to an end.
But it's not the that's not the test streams they put out for the performance board, is it?
That's what I'm saying. That's not. They're the EDE tests, which are testing for, I don't know exactly what, but I think things like also, I originally I thought it was for capabilities checking too, but I don't know. I can't say that I know exactly what they're for, but I do know those are the streams that come in at those at those lengths. So if you do see those are Livepeer test streams for. It doesn't really matter what the reason is, but if you see them, you know that that's what it was.
Cool. All right. Well, that's good to know.
And there were, and especially over the last few weeks, there were a lot of them coming in.
Cool.
See, I have one right now that's at 130. Oh no, there's a few streams going. I can't get too hard to pay attention. But yeah, I was gonna say I want to see if it ends at 147. But yeah, that's one way to know that it wasn't you. If you feel like you're having a lot of issues with that, it's worth going through the logs and just checking that.
Cool. Yeah. Glad to hear it. So as for topics, I think we're almost out of topics. I quickly want to go over the performance dashboard that we're kind of working on. So we've finished phase 1, which is now we can have customized pricing per broadcaster. So this is a Brad has joined us. Oh, Brad, do you want to explain a little bit about how that all went? And have you gotten paid? That'd be good to know as well.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch that second part.
Have you gotten compensated for your grant?
We got an upfront amount when we started, but not the second part yet. It's in the works though. They're working on it. I have faith. I'm not worried about that part too much. So this went, to get on to how it went. I think it went fine. Once Lesco or Fall started reviewing it went pretty smoothly. Me and John, Elite Encoder, kind of both grabbed on and didn't let go until it got all the way through. But what this lets you do is it lets you, I think, even Titan, to use you as an example, you're going to set your price to 0 possibly as your base price, your default base price, and then set the price for Livepeer Inc. at a more reasonable value to allow potential broadcasters to test using and they would get your node to be able to test against. your orchestrator to test against at 0 and see how it goes from there. The main way to set these prices is a JSON file that you'd put, similar to how you have like a password file. You'd put the JSON together and say what price per pixel you would like to charge, and the orchestrator, the software will read that and implement it. And you can also set the prices through the CLI interface, which I think many will do, because I don't think at this point we're going to have a ton of different prices for a ton of different or broadcasters.
Okay, so in the CLI, you can just follow the commands, and it will prompt you the way it should.
Yeah.
Oh, that's probably a lot easier.
Yeah, I think so. Especially if you have 5 or less, it's just easier to set that up. What was I going to say? So if you hit the status endpoint on the CLI web server, which is just /status, it'll print out the prices that you have set, but it'll also show you the prices in the CLI interface as well by default. So when you load up the Livepeer CLI in there, we've added a little section in the orchestrator stats that shows all the prices you have set by address at the address.
Very cool. Yeah, I'm pretty excited for this, because what I want to start doing is sending test streams to my own orchestrator, so then I can also set.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I want to actually look at how the quality of the video is coming back amongst my own pool, and then I can start identifying weak spots, or like what an end customer would look like, and I can do this all without having to like load up ETH and all these kind of things. And then on top of that, yeah, we talked about the performance dashboard and some sort of reliability dashboard. I think we got to go back to the drawing board a little bit around that. But yeah, that's something that I'm looking for help on, to maybe help new broadcasters understand how reliable the Livepeer network can be, and give them some sort of splash page or sales page with some convincing evidence on why Livepeer is a better choice. You know, some sort of landing page. So that if anyone goes, well, how good is Livepeer? Like, is it worth switching to? You go, well, here, go to this link, read about this and that, and check this and that, and I don't know, something like that.
In my spare time, besides long walks on the beach, I really enjoy making landing pages look pretty. So if you guys want to get the data together, I'll throw it together.
All right.
Perfect. Yeah, we want to be able to advertise. Like, I know Livepeer Inc., this is kind of their department, which is like getting people to build on Livepeer. But I think there could be a community-led effort where we can demonstrate how good our service actually is. And then maybe the call to action on the landing page is try Livepeer for free. And we can hand out a broadcaster key that a bunch of us have whitelisted as 0. And people can or even just like a package, like maybe a compiled package of like a node that's ready to go out of the box, connects to the community endpoint, right? It's all compiled, and it already has embedded in it this whitelisted key, and you can just double click, and it just says, "Great, now you can start streaming into it." And then people can try out Livepeer without setting up RPC endpoints, creating wallets. You know, just let them like see the end product quickly, right?
Yeah, I agree with that. We'd probably want to steer towards using Catalyst, right?
Yeah, I don't have any experience with Catalyst, so I don't know how that all works.
I don't have much either. I tried to mess with the code a little bit, and I got all turned around, so I just ejected.
Well, here, well, that's
I think
just
Transmental has some experience with it.
Yeah, so if we could set that up,
like
a way to do that, and then Mike can help us set up a Docker thing to get people rolling.
Right, like making it easy, like a nice simple way to like Like if orchestrators can't figure out the Catalyst documentation and how to set it up, like I'm sure there's an opportunity for us to compile, simplify, and hand out some sort of easy version where you could say, here, this is just an example or something, right?
Yeah, and talking to Jarvis and Transmental would add a lot of value to that, I think.
Yes. Yeah, because they're doing testing on Catalyst.
Yeah.
Oh, let's talk about that real quick as a topic. We'll caveat right into that. Actually, before we do, any last updates about the price per broadcaster?
Nope, not from my end. I think we'd be on step 2, which is we have our working group and we'll just keep talking about it.
Cool. Okay. Yeah, so it's phase 1 of that thing. This is just a general upgrade, I think, in general. It just gives us more flexibility to build tools and pricing and things like this.
Yeah.
Either way, I think it's just a good upgrade. Let's talk about the Transmental Jarvis. No, not Jarvis. Transmental Xenon app that is being built, and the testing that went on over the week. Who was a part of the testing, and what did we learn?
Yeah, I was a part of it. It was tons of fun, actually, and it seemed to work pretty well. I think their back end broke a couple of times, but Livepeer itself handled all the streams fairly well.
Yeah, I didn't really follow up on what the issues they had were, but I did throw a stream out that way. That's about all I know.
I threw a stream out as well. Actually, my original stream was just re-streaming what Ben was streaming. And then
a stream within a stream within a stream.
I was re-streaming upstream, so that was good use of resources. And then I decided to hop on and play some games. And I got up to like 5 viewers, so that was cool.
Wow, look at you.
Got up to like 5 viewers on Xenon. So I was getting streamed fake credits. It was really interesting, actually. I was really impressed by the ability to get streamed crypto for streaming. It was very addictive. I wanted to do it again and again. Just knowing that if anyone was watching, I was earning something, and it wasn't just like on YouTube waiting to get 1,000 subscribers so that I can finally monetize my 10 cents. It was just instant, which was really cool.
Stream to earn. It's a whole new model.
What did you call it?
Stream to earn.
Stream turn?
To earn.
To earn.
Stream to earn. Oh. Isn't that kind of what they do, but they just do it all through ad services, and
yeah,
Twitch takes 50% now?
Right.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys saw the article, but yeah, Twitch went from a 70-30 to a 50-50, and all the Twitchers are mad.
Oh,
Back in the day, before the Facebooks and the YouTubes, there used to be a business model on the internet in which if your site was an authority and it had traffic, you could monetize that traffic and drive it towards other businesses and get paid to do so. But with the advent of Facebook and all of these other apps, folks have gone away from these individual sites and now kind of focus in on these big hubs and these centralized places. So the Xenons of the world seem to be hoping to tear down that part of it. And believe me, I would love to see that happen.
As a pretty big mountain to climb, but I think it can be done.
Yeah,
I really like the app. The one thing I didn't like.
We hope so. I mean, that's kind of what Livepeer is all about, is enabling that, or giving the tools for that.
Exactly. I posted in my pool people to come watch my stream, and everyone was put off by having to connect a wallet before they could even see the interface to view who's streaming. So
yeah, maybe that's just a beta thing.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah.
That's
well,
good
that was
feedback
something
for them to have, though, because
I was wondering about that as well. I started polling some people that I know use dApps and just, like what is their comfort level when connecting your wallet. And I found it to be folks are really concerned about connecting their wallet. So I think that's a big challenge, for this space.
Definitely 100% it is. With I spent a lot of time in, like pushing code to GitHub and stuff, so I always see what's going on in the Web3 space and the ENS and the Ethereum repos, and it's quite shocking how easy it is to find a wallet draining template on GitHub. It's disgusting. You can literally set it up in 10 minutes if you want to. It's just so crazy how accessible those kind of scams are to people. It's really prevalent. It sucks.
It does suck. Plugins are a big problem. I think the Brave browser has the right idea with the native wallet, but still, though, there's always that reluctance to connect. So I don't know how to get around it.
A cool browser for you that just came out. It's called Mask, M-A-S-Q. It blows Brave out of the water. They actually run their own nodes for privacy. It's pretty sweet. It's masq.ai. Worth a check out if you. It has a built-in wallet with MetaMask integration. It's their native wallet inside of it, so it's pretty cool.
Interesting.
masq.ai. Here we are. Ooh, look at this. Nice.
You're gonna fit in Fuego real well.
I'm so happy because I can't take this. I want to get off Twitter just because another
What was the
person
URL for that again? I must have mistyped it. What's the
MASQ.ai.
MASQ.AI.
Yeah.
I'm doing IO. I'm so used to that. Site can't be. Someone post that. I don't know what's going on.
I put it in water cooler chat.
All right, thank you. This is one of those draining sites that.
Yeah, no, actually, if you want to just give me your seed phrase, I'll help you.
I was adding a U. I was adding a U to the end of that.
I actually same thing, Papa Bear.
I joined. Yeah, go ahead, sorry. I joined a Discord group where I got an automatic chat bot, and it must have just it said it was impersonating the group I just joined. Yeah, and it just sends you straight to a drain site, and I was like, oh. So I put it in my MetaMask address, even though I just didn't look closely enough, and then it was like, enter your seed phrase for security, and I'm like, whoa.
Oh Jesus.
I'm like, whoa. And I was like, no way. And then I was like, I put in my MetaMask password, and I'm like, how safe is that? Like, they don't have anything on me, but because they were asking for my seed phrase. I'm like, well, that's stupid. But I was like, oh man, like even I just didn't pick up on that. It opened a new window rather than my plugin drop down, right? Just like, they're out there.
Yeah, I mean, I do a lot of stuff with like the ENS, like domain wrappers and stuff, and I play around them here and there. But I picked up bootleg metamask.ens, and I'm going to be making subdomains for like my homies, so they can have burner wallets, and still have they can burner wallet, mint whatever they want, and have a layer of privacy. And then if it's good, they move it on to their next wallet.
Yeah. I mean, this is why I'm such an advocate of hard wallets. Just hardware wallets are really good because it just forces you never to enter stuff that you wouldn't want to enter. But it's tough because I do have wallets that are not hard wallets because, I want to do things without always having to press my little buttons,
There is a couple options you have. I forgot the name. When it comes to me, I'll tell you. But it's a way to verify your assets without having it in a hot wallet. I don't remember the name of the thing. It'll come to me. But yeah, it's pretty cool. So you can actually keep your assets in a cold wallet and use your hot wallet, but it doesn't touch your cold.
Yeah, the security aspect of the user security of crypto needs to significantly increase.
100%.
Or at least just education of it.
Definitely education and responsibility. I mean, yeah.
Cool. Okay. Papa Bear, were you saying something?
If I was, I forgot. I don't remember what it was. No, I don't think so.
Cool. Okay, well, we're pretty much out of topics. We went through everything. Is there anything? Oh, Ryan, Night Node, would you like to introduce yourself? And do you have any topics?
Hey, my name's Ryan. I run Night Node. I've been running it for about a year. I have no topics. I just came in to lurk.
Lurk you shall. Thank you for joining us. And 0xb79, why don't you introduce yourself for the people watching on YouTube? Actually, we do have 4 or 5 YouTube viewers right now, so it's kind of cool.
Yeah, Nate, I'm Brad. I run the B79 Orchestrator node since March of 2021, so well over a year now. Only topic I have is on my fork of Go Livepeer. I have a commit that I separated the Redeemer out a little bit more, where the Orchestrator nodes don't rely on it to get. I think before my update, the Orchestrator nodes relied on it to get broadcasters like max float, which is what the broadcasters send to get the tickets. So it just, each Orchestrator node relied on it to be up just for them to actually function. But my update took that part away, so the Redeemer can run as a separate service, basically, that just redeems tickets and calls rewards. So that would be the box that you have your Orchestrator F address on. And the only difference, I think, to what other people are running with like the dummy account is I don't have to fund those dummy accounts with F at all. Everything on chain is done from one box. So question is, if anybody is interested in that, I can submit it as a pull request. I just want to gauge interest because I think there's a lot of tests I'd have to rewrite or update as well.
That could definitely be interesting.
Yeah, I mean, the whole reason we came up with the dummy, the dummy account thing is being used just because the Redeemer was such a weak point in your infrastructure. If it goes down, everything you have goes down. So if
it can be simplified even more.
That was the big problem. So if you've solved that, I think that would be a very welcomed addition.
You only
it's
need
not
to
very different from what we're doing now, right? Like if you have a closed off orc and dummy accounts with like $20 on it or even 10, I think the only difference is you don't have to fund them anymore, right? Like I think the setup would be the same, right?
It's a cleaner setup.
Setup's the same. You just have one, just everything on chain is done with your on chain orc address, path address. That'd be the only difference. Whether it creates better security or not with a single point of failure probably could be argued, right? Because if it's down, you would know it's down because it's not calling reward. You would see that. But with all the separate accounts like claiming tickets, you don't have to rely on one point of failure for that.
You only have one dummy account though, like for all your nodes, right? Like that's what I do.
Oh, I create just new ones for every one.
No,
I have one for everything.
Yeah,
I don't know if that's the right way to do it. That's why I think having the Redeemer might be the best option in case there is something that's, I don't know.
Yeah,
I just don't want to redeem tickets from the remote nodes anymore. You know what I mean? Like I'd rather take that on-chain activity off-chain or like in a private network, so I don't have to do that part. So like I like that idea, right? You just, because to his point is, you spin up a node, you don't even need to deploy an ETH address. It'll just pick one off it'll generate one and use it, right? Like you don't even have to bother with that anymore. It's all just transient. You can just delete that remote org then. All the tickets, all the redemption happens on that Redeemer node at standalone.
It removes the setup step. It makes it a little lighter. I think it would be pretty good to have.
Yeah, I mean, when you think about the Docker templates we have, right, where we have specific addresses going out to those remote O's, like that all just goes away, right? Like you just delete that stuff. Now the remote O's become dummies. Go ahead, Brad, sorry.
I was thinking it's also a step towards, I don't think that this would not get us all the way there, but actually having possibly we all have ours set up now, but the on-chain F address being on a hardware wallet. Like if all the on-chain things can be consolidated to one spot, it gets you.
Oh.
Austin?
Am I the only one?
Nope.
No,
I'm not running that Redeemer node. He can't get his mic working.
No, I got a call.
No, I'm sorry. I'm
When I was
just messing with
talking.
you.
Just I couldn't hang it up fast enough.
That's hilarious. Yeah, I mean, I set up I put $20 on a dummy account, and that dummy account goes around on all my nodes, and so I only have one node that I have to watch out for. That, you know, but like Mike was saying though, to have no public nodes doing any on transactions would be good, maybe, but even then, like,
well, Brad, when you cut out, sorry, Titan, you were saying something about being able to use a hardware wallet, or
I think it's just one step closer, because if you're doing all the transactions, everything on chain from one point, it would still be very manual if you had a hardware wallet.
You still have to be there because it's a hardware wallet.
Yeah.
So that's the whole point of it.
Yeah, but it does give somebody the opportunity, possibly, but you'd have to set up your node with an ETH address that's, on the hardware wallet, and all of us don't have that. So
I mean, that's not hard to do. I mean, you can just attach a hardware wallet to MetaMask and, right? I mean, I've never used
but
a
it's
hardware
still going to
wallet.
be real clunky when a reward or something comes in if you have to. Do
Yeah,
that
it's a pain though that you have.
Yeah,
to
that would be a disaster. You'd miss tickets, like you'd be around, you can't go do it. Like, nah, I don't want that yet, unless
you'd be sitting there babysitting the thing,
just sitting
there
there
just holding it.
Yeah.
Attach the box to your backpack and walk around with it. Like, nah, I'm good.
Cool.
Yeah, you have to have a
solar powered Raspberry Pi
plug
in
it
your backpack.
And, like dings you on your phone. You plug a wallet into your phone and start putting your code in. And
as soon as Brad figures out how to run a Redeemer node on his iPhone or his Android, then we'll be set.
Cool. Yeah, that'd be epic.
Yeah, even without the hardware wallet thing, I still think it would be something that's interesting if it's not,
it's probably proper.
Yeah,
it seems like the right way to do
my
it.
list. I just think there's a number of Redeemer tests that I'd have to, because when I updated, I didn't rewrite a single test. I just did it, put it on mainnet, and just see how it went. And I've been running it for a while now. So, but to be
that's how we roll.
Correct, I need to update the test and then submit the pull request. Or alternatively, I could just submit the pull request and see what they say.
Yeah, because I mean the way the Redeemer works now, I don't think anyone uses it anymore, do they? I mean, no one here does.
Titan, you were using it, right? Or did you get rid of it?
I was using the Redeemer node for a while, but
dummy account made it better for you.
The dummy account just simplified it, because all it did was, because I turned down the Redeemer and it would shut down my entire pool, and I'm like, well, that's kind of silly. And then
that sucks.
And then I was like,
didn't your daughter shut you down once?
Yeah, she unplugged the cord, and like my entire pool went down because my daughter unplugged the cord, and I was like, okay, this isn't gonna work. And then when we learned that we can have the dummy account, I was like, wait, I can just not have these VPS nodes associated with my Orchestrator node whatsoever, like literally zero.
Yeah.
And anytime they redeem a ticket, all they're doing is sending the proceeds to me. And I was like, oh, that is way better. Like I even the redemption of the tickets are handled by third-party account. Like that sounds perfect to me, because I just want the proceeds. I don't care who submits the ticket.
Yep.
And on those dummy accounts, when you redeem it, do the proceeds go straight to your Orchestrator address?
Yeah, they go straight. Yep.
So it never goes through the other one. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it goes. It redeems it on behalf, and the funds go straight from the deposit ETH account to Titan Node Orchestrator. So
nice.
If I had to go monitor those addresses, I wouldn't be running it. It goes right to the org address. If it didn't do that, man, there's no way in hell I'm running that.
Yeah. So, and then and it's just the one dummy account, right? Like it's just loaded up. So what happens is, like, the one dummy account, I just put on all 7 of my nodes, and that thing just keeps spitting out tickets. And so,
cleaner, much better.
I would have no problem handing it out, like this dummy account, to just like whoever, like, if some guy in Singapore wanted to spin up a node for me and he wanted to run an Orchestrator, even though I don't do that, but I'd be like, oh, this is a dummy account. It's got $20 on it.
After that, for that, I'd probably give someone a separate account just for who
Sure.
knows what, who's going to run what through your account, and then all of a sudden it's flagged because you're like, who knows what. But I think in general, having a single one is fine for if it's stuff that you're running.
But even then, like this conversation came up the other day where it was like the idea about pools, and I thought you could compile a dummy account into an executable that you could hand out, and people can spin up orchestrators on your behalf anywhere, and they can transcode and redeem without any key management issues. There's other issues that pop up, but I thought that was really interesting because, yeah, the pool idea is interesting, but it's weird that I have to keep sending it back. Like, it's weird that if someone's broadcasting out of like Mexico, they have to send the work to Los Angeles, and then it goes back to Mexico City to get transcoded, and then it goes back to Los Angeles, and then it goes back, and then it gets distributed to the world, right? Like, it just seems really inefficient.
Well, it's part of the Livepeer protocol, which I think could be.
Well, it's just their
optimized.
broadcaster, right? If you had other broadcasters, it wouldn't. I guess maybe with your setup, with the way you have DNS set up, it might still do that.
Well, and just the fact that it has to go from the orchestrator to the broadcaster to the
orchestrator,
or actually broadcaster, orchestrator, transcoder, broadcaster, orchestrator. It seems like it would be a lot more efficient if once it was transcoded, it could go straight out to the back to the broadcaster. But I don't know what kinds of checks and things, balances and all that kind of stuff has to go back through the org to make it.
I believe it's a security issue to do a slashing for sending back incorrect transcoded data. Like the one thing that I do like about it is, which I don't know if this would actually happen, like if a transcoder sends back incorrect transcoded data to my pool orchestrator, does my pool orchestrator pick up on that? Like, I don't think so. So like, is there a difference between them running O/Ts on their own in the pool sense? Like, maybe, like, is there any benefit to sending it back to me?
No, not really.
So, and I also thought about this. Oh yeah, no, that doesn't make any sense. Yeah, Alex.
Oh, sorry. Go. I'll let Alex go because I'm curious to hear what
Thanks for picking me. Yeah, so this it might have limited context to orchestrating stuff, but it's a curious kind of Cloudflare question. So I think the simplest way to articulate this is basically I'm trying to figure out if there's a very cheap way or a reasonably affordable way in Cloudflare to have basically to proxy on the edge from a static IP. So basically, assuming you can always hit this service from the public internet with a specific IP, and then have that pushed to another, say, IP on the internet that's public. But do this all on the edge. So not needing, and the idea here is avoiding to have to go to like DigitalOcean and just install Squid or Nginx and have that work.
Yeah, you can proxy if that's what you're talking about, but you're saying it at IP level. Normally proxying is like the host level, right?
Yeah, it's a weird application for sure. What's interesting is I'm pretty sure on Cloudflare they have, I think what's called a reserved egress IP. So because right now, like the reason a lot of stuff is domain based on Cloudflare is because generally like the public facing IP of any Cloudflare service in most cases is the same. And obviously that's done for a reason because that's the basis of a lot of their DDoS mitigation, because the whole idea is no one service has a reserved IP you can then DDoS. But yeah, basically I'm trying to figure out if I could do that with less, I guess, configuration and cheap and less expensively than like just spinning up a DigitalOcean instance and installing Nginx.
Yeah, probably depending on your workload. Let me send you something in the chat that might help you with the proxy. And basically, NGINX type proxying on the edge, and you can use the same kind of rules to route your traffic to a back end, right? So I'll send you that. You can take a look at it, obviously it's going to be based on, you know, requests on the edge and how long it takes for each request. But I think in general, it might do what you're talking about.
For sure. Basically, I'm providing some transcoding services for someone, and curiously, I tried to talk them out of this, but they said, well, as opposed to having a domain, I'd rather have a raw IP I can point at. I was like, well, that's bizarre, but okay. Like, you're paying me to.
Do they have a reason? I'm just curious. Is there a reason?
They didn't really. I can probably press them more. They're in a different time zone, so I
yeah, I
the
was just
response from them
curious.
would be slow. But yeah, I don't know. And I thought about it. I was like, this is a curious conundrum because like the lazy way is for me to just go spin up a DigitalOcean VPS and then just have a proxy, like just a bone stock, you know, take anything coming in from this whitelisted IP and then push it towards this specific like outbound IP. And Cloudflare is interesting because I've not been able to find how expensive it is in an enterprise account to reserve one of these dedicated egress IPs, which I assume is going to be expensive. So I'll probably at the end of the day just end up eating $5 a month for like a DigitalOcean VPS to handle this. But hopefully there's some way to do this in Cloudflare on the edge. Like fingers crossed.
I posted the link there for you.
Thanks.
It might just be cheap. It might just be cheaper to actually go with the DigitalOcean thing if you're sending a lot of data through there.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure. And like, yeah, it was a very odd request, and I thought like how like I could lean into this a bit, or I could be lazy.
It's not a big deal. I'm just kind of curious to know, like, that. I'm just
okay. So you have to have a static, and it's weird because with Cloudflare, they're specific in certain instances of like, oh yeah, you can always reach out to this with the same IP in like a reasonably actionable way. Because for a while it looks like they just deliberately kneecapped their fetch service internally, which is basically an API call that will give you the raw IP of a given edge resource in Cloudflare, which was like there are tons of forum posts of people coming in and saying like it's not even changing, it's just flat out like not even working. But yeah, Mike, this is interesting. Okay, and what's the other bizarre thing is they said for security reasons they weren't interested in a reverse proxy being set up. So they're like, yeah, I want it to just be like a thing that sits between like my public IP and a box that has another IP somewhere, which was equally kind of annoying. So I might just have to tell them, sorry, this is too much work. But
yeah, I mean, I hope they're sending a lot of work your way because
okay, a lightweight and scalable reverse proxy. Interesting. Cool, Mike. I might send you a few basic DMs, but thanks for sending this over.
Sure, no problem.
Cool. One last note: has anyone signed up for the TensorDoc, their new thing where you can provide resources for them? I know, Alex, you were mentioning it.
I'd love to, but they're really wanting some high-end cards that I don't have at the moment. But I highly recommend it. They're essentially guaranteeing a payout every month, like $200 a month, if you can provide them with like A4000s or A5000s and a 4090, 3090s, something like that. So if you have high-end cards sitting around that you can throw up on a machine, I'd definitely recommend giving TensorDoc, the marketplace, a shot.
Yeah, they want a lot of memory from what I understand. That's their main thing that they're looking for.
Yeah, they're looking for chunky rigs. They want a lot of cores in the CPU as well.
Yeah, their installer is a little weird. I messed around with it, and what's curious is I had one machine that had Intel integrated graphics, and they're big on saying you have to have one like GPU that isn't one you're planning on providing to their service. And I was like, well, that's really inconvenient because
What?
most of these boards that I have, like, you can't really fit 3 GPUs on them. And I was like, I know, like, I'm using Ubuntu with the integrated graphics, and I think that it was like one of their developers that was just lazy because the issue is it basically just calls LSPCI and looks at how many interfaces show up, and then you have to have like at least 2 other than the one, at least like one other one other than the GPUs you're provisioning. And the thing is, like, there's some weird edge cases where, like, obviously, in a lot of cases, the Intel iGPU doesn't show up as a graphics device. It shows up as a display adapter, but not necessarily a PCI device because, like, it's in the CPU, so it's not going to show up as a PCI graphics device.
Right.
So I pinged them and I was like, can I just change your script so this works? Because, like, I can prove that none of the resources are being utilized, and this is sort of a slam dunk for a lot of people. And I got sort of a half, like what's good is their support is very robust. And ironically, they'll occasionally send out RFCs for like very specific rigs if they know you have it, that are actually secondary to the host platform. So they'll be like, yeah, can you just provision this for someone in this way? Like, we'll give you an ISO to do this. And it's not kind of their fancy, like, spin up a VM on your machine, et cetera, et cetera. But
So can you multitask when you're using if you're provisioning a GPU for someone or a VM, can you still use the computer to do other things?
so technically you're not really supposed to be doing other things with it. But, like, I found that the Quadro, or not the Quadro, but just the workstation, like A5000 and above, those drivers have a rudimentary kind of scheduler, so you can kind of split those among multiple VMs, and like they won't break. And with my 3080, that is definitely not the case. And I think it's a memory thing. So I think with like a 3080 or a non-enterprise card, you can only have one kernel task provisioning GPU memory. So for instance, and that's why you have to have another, say, like, burner GPU to run like Ubuntu on. And then once it spins up a Docker container with a GPU attached to it, if it's a non-workstation GPU, then you have to just give all of that to that VM and that's it. And then with A5000, like the higher end enterprise stuff, it can sort of schedule between all of them.
So you're saying they're actually taking hardware from the wild and they're provisioning virtual machines on them so that they can run Docker containers in it?
Yeah, and then they give that Docker
Aye,
container to
aye,
someone
aye.
to do AI things with. So it's
Why
a little
would
bit like there's a lot of trust in, like, the RFCs. I've been tempted because they vet those much more, and there's actually like an agreement and like they kind of know who it is, so it's not like them just giving a
I'm just
GPU to
saying
someone. Yeah.
VMs as a means to horizontally, or rather vertically scale a server or a node, that's not good. I mean, a virtual machine takes, the entire OS and virtualizes it. It's not just running a process, like a Docker image is running a process on the host, right? Whereas a VM is an OS on top of an OS, right? And there's only so much, to your point, is that you can spread that host resource around before those VMs take over. So it seems like a really not good scaling model. But again, I don't really know the details of it. But just hearing as you describe it, it sounds like it's got some limitations.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's their like cheapest offering, so I think there are definitely some caveats with, and I know internally a lot of their provisioning is effectively just, it's all on top of a hypervisor anyway. But obviously
Yeah, I know that.
yeah, there are huge caveats between, Docker and there's a lot of weird complexity there, as you know.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
So it's interesting. I mean, the biggest headache for me is just having to keep everything on a VLAN, and then basically looking at that, just talking to me like, is there any like vague guarantee that, or something I can sign that says like, if someone does something stupid, that you were viable for that or something. So I'm kind of wary as to whether or not I really want to entertain this. But it's been interesting talking to them to see how they're doing it. And their code for all this is actually on GitHub. Like you can't use it to do your own service with this, but it's under an MIT license on GitHub if you want to see their installer, which pretty much gives away how they're provisioning. But
cool. I'm about to take. You have a link. Post that in the water cooler if you don't mind. I'd like to take a look at that.
Yeah, I'm on my phone right now, but I will.
Nah, when you can, that's fine.
Sure.
Yeah, I was wondering why your microphone sucked. No, I was just kidding.
Yeah, you said you're a TPM. What does TPM stand for again? Is that what you said? TPM, right?
Manager.
Oh, okay.
Basically, it's an excuse for me to be technical when I would like to, and then otherwise, most of my day-to-day is
spreadsheets and PowerPoint.
Just keeping product stuff going in the right direction. So
spreadsheets and PowerPoint, is that what they usually call managers?
It's a lot of Notion, but
oh, Notion, yeah. Okay.
I kid, but
cool.
Well, you're not in Visual Studio Code, you're not debugging, you're not coding, right? You're writing docs, you're not doing,
Yeah, I mean, I'll do some forward-facing stuff here and there. So that's been good, but yeah, that is, I guess, the my official title at Livepeer.
Cool.
Okay, well, we've been at this for 2 hours.
Can I do a quick poll? I got to do a quick poll. Sorry, Titan. What do you guys think about if Livepeer added the discovery request or the discovery time to the performance board that is currently out there? Does anyone think that that's a bad idea?
It's a great idea.
Just wondering why that's not there, or do we need to create a GitHub for that and see if we can get someone to implement that? I mean, I figure that info's got to be there as part of the, anyways. So
hit up Eric. That's a perfect spot for Eric to pull some of his clout, right?
Well, I think things are going to be changing with how the ingest nodes work in general. So hopefully they provide more information about that kind of stuff.
Speaking of ingest nodes, I wanted to always. No, actually, I forgot at the beginning. I had a topic and I forgot about it. But as you guys might have noticed, I've been running a broadcaster for the last week and just trying to get some metrics and numbers to determine, what the cost of it is. Like, we've been talking about this stuff for a while, and we've run some tests, but we found it to be a lot of minutes for not a lot of payouts in terms of what we're doing. And what I really want to do next is start to get some Grafana metrics at the broadcaster level, and like to maybe get some scrutiny from the community on like, what is it that it serves compared to the orchestrator? Like, we have dashboards for the orchestrator inside and out, but running a broadcaster, what does it tell you? Like, does it give you, maybe to your point, Papa Bear, maybe if you look at the broadcasters, it starts to give that information out freely. Like, we can start to look at what response times are, because that's a part of the Grafana dashboard. And just having a broadcaster sending out the pings might be worth it just to do that, even if you're not streaming. You know what I mean? Like, so I don't know. I'm just kicking around some thoughts and just wanted to hear what other people were thinking in that regard.
You should join our performance and reliability working group. A dashboard thing. If you're interested, I can invite you to the group. Mr. Mikey.
I thought I was in at one point, but I was really just listening, trying to figure out what you guys were doing more than I was trying to actually participate. But if you guys are digging into the broadcasting metrics, and like, I know there's a monitor flag with the broadcaster. If you guys are digging into what you can glean out of that, absolutely, I want to participate in that conversation.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's good because that's basically where we're at is step 2, right, Titan? Like trying to figure out now what can we do with it.
Yeah, we have this ability to provide free streams to a whitelisted address. So now what we can do is we can create a dashboard where we say, okay, everyone opts in to whitelist an address, and this broadcaster can now send out test streams, and we can now use a public Grafana board to say, hey, like this is why this node got selected. This was their ping time. This is the results they sent back. You know, like, yeah, the idea would be to have some sort of tool where we can really display the metrics of a broadcaster, to both to orchestrators so we can improve, and both to potential broadcasters so they can see that we take this seriously.
But again, think of it this way: like Livepeer is not going to provide their ingest node data, right? Like I don't think they're going to share that.
No. So we need to provide some sort of we need to, as a community, maybe get together and create the community-led broadcaster service.
Oh yeah, no, I'm good with that. I just want to know, like, for me, if I want to get metrics, like to your point is right now running a broadcaster, turning that monitor flag on against some Prometheus is the way I'm doing it. And in terms of streams, I'm running my own streams through that broadcaster, and I'm, generating streams, consistently for a period of time so I can start to look at it, more than one stream, multiple streams, trying to get some facts around the cost, the actual minute cost, right? And I'm hoping that when I get into those metrics that, if I look at my payouts from the broadcaster side, the actual payouts, and then the actual minutes that it actually transcoded, I'm looking at that, hoping that the facts will be there, like versus a lot of this estimation stuff that the orchestrator sees. I want to actually see if the broadcaster side of it gives some more concrete numbers. So that's hopefully where I'll be putting my head in.
That's what I call bada boom, bada bing. Okay. Okay, we've been at this 2 hours, 10 minutes. Any last comments before we take off?
All good.
Wait, yeah. Real quick. Sorry, I was trying to find where I had the Discord on my desktops. If anyone else have a conversation about AI and those kind of things, holler at your boy.
I love it. Sounds great.
Definitely.
Yeah, for sure.
Sweet. I'll be floating around in general or wherever the hell or whatever ever.
Yeah. Have you started up? You started up your orchestrator node yet, Virgo?
No, I have not. I'm probably gonna be getting everything in order, I guess. So I leave to the States in 4 days. So I'll probably have my stuff in order by then, and then I'll probably try and get it done within a day's time frame when I get there. So I'll probably be heavy on the Discord and forums during that time.
Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Hit us up.
Yeah, definitely.
As we say up here in the Great White North, today is actually Thanksgiving Day, which I believe is different from the U.S. So Thanksgiving to everyone, and hope you guys have a great week ahead of you. So cheers, and we'll see you all next week.
Thanks, guys.
Bye from New York.
Bye.